Hi, everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of the NeQter Labs Town Hall. We're just going to give it a minute to allow anyone else to join, as today we will be going over an update that has just released, version 2.21.0. A lot of good changes in this one, so we definitely want to make sure people have the opportunity to see this. Of course, there will be an email going out detailing all of the changes as well. And this will get posted to YouTube for future reference for you guys. Pat, I will pass things over to you so that you can start highlighting the awesome new additions and the update.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Nick. This one is exciting. There's so much stuff. So I think it's going to be I think this is going to be a long webinar today, just because there's so many things to talk about, so many things to cover and click around and show everybody. And then there was a couple, I made so many additional slides, and then I was sitting here leading up to going live, and I'm like, wait, should have mentioned that. So I'll look to cover it as we kind of do a live demo of different things, um, just so I don't forget, just so everything gets covered with what we wanted to discuss. But yeah, so today's agenda went pink for Valentine's Day, of course. Hopefully this is a good gift for everybody, this update. And one of the things we'll start off with is just the installation process of update 2.21.0. There's a couple things to consider with this update if you use 365, which is a majority, I think, of our clients at this point. We're going to review all of the things with update 2.21, and then we'll just rehash some of the ecosystem updates that we've been talking about the past couple of months. And then, of course, as always, we'll end with Q&A. So wanted to discuss the installation process. It's just going to be going and running an update. However, in terms of the two different paths that we could have, I see that the format changed on this slide. There's going to be two paths. There's either going to be path 1, which is advanced directly to 221, and this is going to be if you are not using 365 or in NeQter, or you are using 365 but you haven't created any saved searches, so you're not using any custom alerts or reports. Path 2, which we'll get into, is there's going to be a kind of a middleman or in between update where if you are using 365 and you have created saved searches, and if they're just created, this is going to halt you. Even if you're not using them in alerts or reports, if they're present for that index, it's going to stop you. And the reason is because we added so much to 365, we had to re-index everything. So go from basically index A to a new index B. So the in terms of the halt, what that's going to do is when you click on update on 219.3, you will land on 220.1. And when you go to run update again, it's going to come up with a prompt or notice that wants you to read and mention those things that I just talked about. The fact that we have the new dashboards, the fact that we have all these new features, we had to shift to a new index. So the searches that are in that older index are going to be removed. So there is a download that will capture all of the saved searches and list out which alerts and which reports they're being used in, and all of those parameters as a reference. So you can either click on the download reference, or if you go and jump to the next step and type out update in all caps and press update, it will automatically download that for you, just so you don't miss anything. And the file is going to look like this, a JSON file. And as I mentioned, it's going to include the title of the search and all of the search's parameters. It's going to list out all of the alerts using the search and all of the reports using the search and those report settings. So again, this is only if you've gone through and created, custom alerts or custom reports off of saved searches for 365. And this is going to be, it's going to pause you, say, hey, we got to download those, and you're going to have to, recreate them as we move to the new update. So, just to call out, your NeQter support is available if you need help, if you need to go through and make sure that everything's going to get captured and everything is going to be, added to the new, essentially the new integration of 365. Then, this is going to be the process. So, and I actually saved off, this is one of, it's just an example of what the file looks like in terms of the title of the search, the filters, the parameters associated with that search. And then under here, we can see we have a report, a custom report that is, for that saved search. It's running once a week. So that's what's going to happen if you fall into this path 2, essentially. If you're using Google or you're not using 365, or if you're using 365 and you haven't created any custom things, just going to jump right to 221. So for 221, so many things to cover, including, of course, the 365 enhancement. So number one, you're going to be able to configure and log multiple 365 tenants. You can also name them. So if you have a list, if you have 2, you'll be able to name them and know which one's which. You can have commercial and GCC or GCC high tenants all at the same time. And so this is what the list is going to look like. And it will tell you which, subscriptions or, different things. We go back here, which log types that you're going to retrieve between each one. So it's going to have that checkbox or an X if you're not pulling those things. So, and with this improvement, you can go and click on the pencil and go and edit. You can go and edit the configuration later, so you don't need to turn it off, edit it, turn it back on like previously, where you kind of like removing it and adding it again. With this, you can go in and live change and update in future. So if right now you're not using DLP and you kind of have that checked off, but then later on you do add it or you do use it and you want to go and check that on, you can do that. So that's the multi-tenant 365 support. Now, one of the things, I'm just going to jump out of this real quick to discuss. So with the update, so we go through, we add everything, we get everything in there. One other additional step that I just wanted to highlight is going into settings and going into dashboards and then turning on the dashboard. So we're going to scroll down to 365 over here, and I have these all turned on. Now it's going to be the all activity is going to be on and enabled, but these other ones will be turned off when you update. So if you want those on, you come in here and and toggle them on, make sure that they're all enabled. So it'll look like this, but we want it to look like this, potentially, if we're using all of these different features. So turn that all on. Then we come up back here and we apply those changes. We hit save. So just wanted to highlight that. So in case you update, you add the new 365, you're like, I want to see all this cool stuff. And then you go into dashboards and there's just one. That's because you got to go into settings and turn on the ones that you want. We try not to do a, opt in by default type of thing across the tool. We want people to turn on only what they really want, what they really, desire. So you'll have to do that step to get those locks. So just wanted to highlight that. In terms of the 365 logging, we kind of talked about this previously, but wanted to emphasize this again, is it's gone gangbusters on the amount of fields that are parsed now. There's dozens upon dozens of fields that have been painstakingly gone through and parsed out and looked at, which allows us to have more precise outcomes and also allows you to have enhanced querying and, of course, save searchability, and customer alerts and customer reports and all that there. In terms of, we just kind of looked at the fact that we have those expanded options with the different areas. So the all activity has been updated, and the different dashboards that we have allows us to see DLP, Azure AD, SharePoint, Exchange, and then of course that ubiquitous general subscription designation, so we can grab all of those logs. So I'm going to go and just kind of show some of those logs on the different areas that we have here. So when it comes to 365, I go to dashboards here. I type in 365. We're going to have all the different ones listed out right here. So there's the all activity, which is going to encapsulate everything. But then if you want to really go down and drill down on specific, or if you just want to see Exchange and look at those different outcomes out and see geographically where things are happening, the dashboard is built out to show that. One of the things that we kind of tested out, or we're kind of developing a new dashboard design, is a combination of graph with the log list right alongside, specifically highlighting those logs. So if you're looking at something, say you wanted to know about Exchange admin actions, and you wanted to filter something here, there is still the full list down at the bottom of all of the logs, but instead of having to scroll, the exact logs for example, Exchange admin actions are right here, right alongside it. So instead of you having to scroll down to the bottom, you can expand and look at the full logs in their original format right here. So we have Exchange. So with NeQter Sub, we don't use SharePoint, but all of those SharePoint related events we're going to be able to see. Of course, Azure AD is going to be crucial. Knowing about login events, knowing about all those different things. And again, specifically seeing like hosts or field logins by user, seeing the graphs and the charts, and really just being able to go down specifically and filter and have everything right there. This is something that we really spent a lot of time on, and it inspired us to go down a little bit further, so we can expand upon the other integrations that we have with the same format. And then again, of course, there's a all activity dashboard like before that we're going to be able to drill down and look at things specifically. So this is big win. Really excited for this enhancement. Additionally, going back to the slideshow here, just to
Yeah, you have a
sure.
question asking to expand the slideshow actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In terms of if we're talking about the Livestorm app, I think that on the user side they can kind of go and expand or change the format. But I have the slideshow here fully expanded. Is it expanded on your side?
Yeah, I can see it a little bit better now. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. So in terms of the other areas, and I just want to make sure. Let me just double check to make sure I'm sharing my full screen rather than an app. Let me just do that again. So some additional things, and we touched upon this last time, but now it's in here and really excited. Down detection. Um, Down detection allows us to see the if there's something that hasn't been seen in 24 hours. How it was before was it was looking at the last 60 seconds worth of logs. So, in that case, some things might show as down, as opposed to, they might not be getting logs within the last 60 seconds. So it might say not receiving, but that might not necessarily be true. So now with the 24-hour status, just visually on here, we can see if something has not been seen in the last 24 hours, which will be more reflective of, the fact that it might not be sending logs. And outside of that, there is the down detection feature now where we can turn on down detection and specify the frequency. So it's going to show up with 30 minutes as kind of a default, but we can reduce it down to 5 minutes or expand it out to 12 hours or a day. So I can turn on and receive an email an email alert if something has gone down or not been seen within that window of time for for these syslog inputs. So I can turn that on and save that, and that's what's going to allow me to see if I'm not getting my Sophos or my Sonic Wall or my Thisco logs from different stuff. So yeah, so that's the down detection, and just want to pull up the 365 before if I wasn't sharing the screen correctly, but all of the different dashboards are now available in the dashboard area. Of course, after we have gone into the settings area and flipped on the dashboards that we specifically want to see, all these different ones here: Azure AD, DLP, Exchange, General, and SharePoint, in addition to the all activity, which is turned on or enabled by default. So depending on if you're using all of those apps, you now have the specific ability to drill down into all of those different areas of your 365 logs. So down detection, we can add different emails for that. And this, what it's going to look like, it's going to come in and say, you know what, we have not seen any syslog messages from this device name in X amount of time, and will give us the input name, the type, and the source IP in that email. if there is a true down detection. Right. It's so to answer I see Ray's question, is down detection all or none, or can it be set for individual endpoints? With the current we set it as an all or none setting. So for for the syslog inputs in future, we're talking about looking to have it be per input, but right now is all inclusive of the time frame that you set for all the inputs in the syslog area. So if there's ones that maybe send something once a day, or something once every few hours, you can kind of level set the setting to encompass everything. And then, so outside of, so we talked about 365, which is a huge thing. All of those different dashboards, all of those different expanded logging ability and filtering ability, and then down detection. And now one of the things that we added, as per the CMMC rule, the 32 CFR, which came out in October and was enacted or went live in December. SPURS, they said, CMMC L2, we want SPURS to, SPURS scores to be counted and tracked and stuff like that. So because of that, we added in the SPURS score, much like on the NIST side, into the CMMC side. So if you have an existing plan, it's going to show up when you update. So any existing plans or new plans, the SPURS score is going to show up. So again, that's based upon DODAM. It's the same scoring as NIST 100-171 R2 that they have. And of course, because we have the SPURS on the CMMC side, it's also going to show up, or those plans will show up in the SPURS scorecard report. That's in the top, in the top right in the reports area. So lastly, in terms of functionality, which I'll definitely take some time to cover. Oh yeah.
Before you move on from that, just for clarification, I would like to note that if you have an existing system security plan, I don't know if you said this and I didn't hear you. The first score is just going to get added to it. You don't have to recreate anything.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Any existing plan. Yeah, all existing and future plans get this enhancement. So yeah, so if you have one, when you update, it's just going to show up with whatever the calculated score is based upon your implementation status within that CMMC plan. So yeah, so you're not going to have to create anything new. You already have one. It's going to show up as an enhancement. Yeah. So one of the things, and this is going to lead into when we get to big, flagship version 3, and alerting, but it starts here with some enhanced custom reports and alerts ability. So first and foremost, custom reports now have an HTML option. So you can select that from the drop down as an option, HTML. So of course with HTML, it you don't have to download it. It shows up right there, as a preview. So you can, test a search better, or a report rather than committing to it. And you're not confined to downloading an Excel spreadsheet. So going into reports. So if I go up over here, I make a custom report. So we have this area right here, report format, HTML. So if we go and say I wanted to, I'm going to go to a Google Drive one. And I can see admin events. Let's just do that. So if I look at the last month, HTML, I run this report, it's going to show up in the same tables as we can see with Excel, but will show up in this HTML view right here. So that's what that's going to allow us to do. The next part that I wanted to cover is talking about saving searches with added fields and how to construct that and how that leads into alerts and reports. Alerts in future, reports right now. So some of the feedback, some of the complaints, or feature requests have been, I get a bunch of junk in my Excel spreadsheet for a report. I only want to see what I care about. Well, this is the feature for you to just strip down and focus in on what you care about. So you can toggle columns in a table to add them to a particular search. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I go into, we'll just go into a 365 Azure over here, and say I want to create a filter for just my user here. So we'll pin that, and we'll now navigate to the Discover area, and we'll go to the new 365 index. So we have my user right here. Let me actually full screen this, and I'll zoom in a little bit so everyone can see. So username, P. Colantonio. So if I expand out this table, there's a lot of things here of detail. There's the event.original, of course, and then there's these different actions and different stuff. Right now, if I go and I save this search, I'm going to get all of these fields, right? So say I don't want that. So what I can do is, event.action, that's important. User logged in. So this little guy right here, this book looking thing, toggle column and table, I click on that. Now I have time and I have user action right here. I go, and of course my username is important. Source user email, or I'll go username, which is what I filtered originally. I'll add that. I'll also add user type. If you have multiple domains, you might want to include the domain. So I'll include that. Source IP, if I want that, or my user email. So we'll do source IP. We'll also, so all these different things. It's an Azure Active Directory event. So I have this list right here. Now, if I go and I save this search, P. Colantonio events, say for example, confirm save. So if I go and create a custom report, I have this checked by default, use saved search columns. So if I make an HTML report and I find that report I just made, P. Colantonio events, when I run this report, I'm only going to get those fields that I opted in for. So instead of everything, I just get a subset here. Now, if you just kind of added those and then you're like, well, damn, I don't want it. I don't want that there. I want this over here. Well, guess what? We go back in, and there's these little arrows, move column to right or left. I can say, you know what? The event kind is very important. So I'm just going to keep going over here, put it right next to the user. Maybe I want the source IP. I want the domain all the way to the left. I move the source IP this way now. So I go in and I say, all right, great. Let's save that. Let's save over that. Confirm save. I go and I run that report again. It's going to have those columns in the new order that I just designated. HTML run report. So that is one, streamlining reports so that you only see what you want. And when you structure that save search. So if you have those saved searches, go in and do that now. You can go in and add those and modify them and just resave them for those report types. So that's a huge thing. I love that. That's one of my favorite things that we added. And then let me rename this, Pico Antonio events. Of course, if I have a scheduled report, I'll name it appropriately, but so I'll just run this report again just so I can get that save. So now we're going to go into the next thing that we just talked about, searching and filtering reports. So if you go into the reports area, we added the ability to search or filter historical reports, which is something that I really, really wanted. So we just made that report. We just saved it. Now, if we go into reports, or rather, actually, we didn't save it. We just generated it. But because it generated, we go into the reports area here. It's going to show up as it happened right here, Pico Antonio events. So now I can either search for that, just simple keyword search. So if you have historical monthly reports, you want those, you just want to pull up the ones that you care about. So obviously if it's a NeQter named, it's going to have the NeQter default. So like the vulnerability frequency report. When you make custom reports, you'll have the custom name that you associated with it. But now, so if you don't want a keyword search, or maybe you forgot, the name of something, we go over here, we can click on this drop down, report type. So I can just say, okay, well, all the NeQter ones, whatever, let's just list out the custom reports. Or so if I just want to go back and look at my compliance Spurs scorecards right here. So even if you didn't name them, if you just did an ad hoc or an on-demand one, you didn't name it, you can just filter out the Spurs scorecard right here. Or if there was a certain report format, if it was Excel or an HTML, those are all right here. So you don't have to go digging. You don't have to go back and click on the bottom here. Now you can search for reports, which super excited for. So just trying to think of what else we had. Yeah, so that's everything in this update, which is a lot. So just kind of to recap, shifting from 2.19.3 up to the newest update. If you added searches or you did a certain stuff with 365, you're going to get that in between middleman update, so that you can download the JSON file of all of the searches that you created. So you kind of have a clue of what needs to be remade. If you need help remaking stuff, our support team is available for that. But once we land on 221, you want to make sure you go and configure your 365 connection. So if I go into settings, I go into input, I go into 365. So you can see here, this is just the NeQter Labs commercial one that we have. It tells you the plan type, tells you the tenant ID, and shows you all the things that are turned on. If I need to go and modify that, I click in and can go and edit the name or turn off or turn on different stuff that we want. And then if we want to add a new one, it's going to be the same process as before. So you can have a commercial and in tandem with a GCC or a GCC high, or as many different tenants as makes sense or that your company has, they can all get added and will get listed here. Then you'll need to, of course, go into the dashboards area here and ensure that you turn on all the different dashboards that you want. then you can go and view all your 365 logs, that they're very specific field names and different stuff that we broke out now. Outside of the 365, we added the down detection in the inputs area. And then of course we added the spurs to the compliance area. So any system security plans that you have now, they'll have a little spurs, a dial show up showing you your score, and you'll be able to generate this spurs scorecard for that plan. And then outside of that, what we just reviewed was the ability to more, customize the searches that you make and include which columns that you want and have those be reflected in the reports that you generate. And now there's a much easier ability to search or filter reports that have already generated. So a lot of nice stuff that got added in this update. I've been ready for it. I've been waiting. Now I'm excited along with the rest of you for all that stuff. So I'll just pause here. I know we do Q&A at the end, but just wanted to see if there's any questions about the new stuff that we added that hasn't already been addressed. I don't think so, but I see a comment from Kelly saying clapping. So I'm glad that I'm glad that you're excited to see the new stuff that we've added. So outside of that, with the new update, just wanted to round out the last couple pieces, which involves just kind of rehashing the ecosystem updates. So again, going back to October 15th of last year, which feels like forever ago, the 32 CFR came out and decreed CMMC is live and is going live in December. Now, with that, the 48 CFR, of course, enforcing CMMC in contracts is still wrapping up. The comment period ended. So they're reviewing and responding and looking at comments, and are going to release the published 48 CFR. We'll see. It could be coming out soon, could be Q2, could be Q3. So we'll see when it comes out. But it's definitely going to be coming out 2025. So that's going to be, so program's live now. And, unfortunately, just about every C3PAO I know, I just talked to another one today, they're booked out to November. So a lot of people, because there's only, of course, so many assessors to go around. So people have scheduled and are undergoing or have already, put on the calendar when they want their assessment to happen. So if you aren't in line yet, if you're trying to get it for this year, this calendar year, you might already be out of luck, or you need to quickly jump on that to make sure that you can get things scheduled. Again, there's only 40 C3PAOs officially crowned on the AB marketplace. So do reach out to us if you have questions on vetting C3PAOs, or you want a C3PAO that's familiar with NeQter, or if you're not prepared for a certification assessment, official one, and you need a pre-assessment, just to kind of do a dry run, go through if you kind of have questions or you want to make sure you're going to be successful. So of course, that's going to be a smaller dollar amount for a pre-assessment than a formal assessment. But when it comes to a certification assessment, just because of the 32 CFR and the requirements that they have of 3 three assessors, so basically a lead assessor and then two fellow assessors being on a team to run the assessment. Having three people of that caliber, it gets expensive, so it's definitely not going to be a cheap undertaking. We're seeing, the floor in terms of assessments. We've seen, $45,000-$50,000 being the, even for the smallest of clients, just because of the the on-site aspect. And again, there's, three people for weeks at a time being dedicated to running an assessment. I see Kelly on here. He was on here last time. Kelly Kendall of KNC Strategic Consulting. He's saying we still have availability, so that's good. Do reach out. Yeah, so we can connect you with Kelly. If you have any questions or want to see, Kelly and his team are great. They're service disabled veteran organization and are familiar with NeQter. So we've been sending recommendations to them and then some other C3PAOs that we've worked with. So it's kind of crunch time in that field of things. I wanted to touch upon one other thing that I didn't get a slide for, but just wanted to bring up because it was discussed last time and I spoke incorrectly. I made a mistake. I was going off of prior analysis of what is required for security protection asset when it came to kind of previous text about what was in scope for NIST, and then the draft CMMC rule and all that there. And now with the final, a lot of things have been cleared up. So one of the things I because I had gotten asked and I was used to responding about, for example, something like NeQter requiring FIPS, or, before when it came to NIST, it was any, assets transmitting or processing or storing COI or provide security for, that was kind of the clause that said, okay, well, if you have a tool or software, or now it's called a security protection asset, they had previously said, oh, well, all of the NIST controls apply to everything, so with the 32 CFR, with the CMMC rule, they came out with, just redefining the asset categories and scoping. So when it comes to security protection asset, which NeQter is, which is an asset that provides security functions or capabilities to organizations seeking assessment, CMMC assessment scope, the organization needs to document NeQter in an assessment asset or inventory. It needs to be documented in the system security plan and included in the network diagram. And when it's assessed, it is being assessed against any level 2 requirements that are relevant to the capabilities provided. So when it comes to NeQter, our compliance guide that we have, which heavily is dealing with the areas of Section 3.3 audit and accountability, and all of that information. We're lining up, we're providing those requirements to help whoever's using NeQter, but anything else, anything outside of that, any of the other 110, specifically we had talked about FIPS, that's not applying to NeQter. So that's going to be the lens that C3PAOs are assessing against. So just wanted to clear that up because that was something that we were planning for or were talking about previously. When it comes to getting assessed or having NeQter within scope of an environment, but as an SPA, that no longer applies to NeQter. So just wanted to clarify on that piece. And that was something that thought I was going crazy, and I actually reached out to several C3PAOs, and they're like, nope, NeQter's just being assessed against Section 3.3 or any other areas that you're using NeQter for. So if you're using the vuln scanner, Section 311 risk assessment, et cetera, et cetera. So just wanted to highlight that. Did make a nice, pretty slide, but wanted to pull up the Federal Register. This is the 32 CFR doc table all the way in the bottom that talks about the different asset categories and what have you. Actually, I will drop this in the chat if anyone hasn't had the privilege or the time, or if you want to read the rule. So yeah. So any questions on? Just want to open up the floor here. If we look at the time, been going 45 minutes, which usually we kind of have a 20 or maybe 25 minutes. So there's so much to cover in this update. Wanted to get through to everything. So you have a couple minutes for people to type if they have any questions.
Yeah, looks like we might have one coming in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have a good question here from Rob Nitzel. So when updating from 220 or any version below 221, will it advise him if he needs to update the saved searches or not?
Yes. So basically, in terms of, just to kind of, if we just go back there, real quick. So yeah, so I apologize because I was referring to 219.3, but we're obviously everyone's on 220. So it will make that decision for you. If you don't have any saved searches, it's just gonna jump right to it's just gonna jump right there. It up to 221. If you do have if it is present, what's going to happen is it will go to 220.1 if you have searches present within the index. And then when you go to press update again, you will be greeted with this prompt. And then it will kind of force you to update, download the, you can download the reference. If you say, you know what, I'm just going to type out update and press update, it will automatically download those searches. So it will advise it will get to this step only if you have searches saved. If you don't, it will immediately jump to 221. And hopefully that's the question. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to be super clear for you, Rob, this doesn't going to impact any and all saved searches or custom reports. It's specifically just going to be Office 365.
Yeah. Only if you've done anything with the 365 index, because that is the one that's getting re-indexed with all the new fields and reports and dashboards. So yeah, everything else that you have for any other index, not touched. If you have nothing saved from a search standpoint for 365, it's just going to jump right to 221. If and only if you have the if you're using 365 and have created safe searches for 365, and then it will present you with this screen, with this prompt. Yep. Yeah. And so yeah, you're gonna get that file. It's gonna reference everything. Just to kind of pull that file up again. This is what it's gonna look like, and list out every single search that you have. And then again, if you need help, or you want help referencing and reconstructing different searches or alerts or reports, our team is available. And
Yeah. Pat, could you elaborate a little bit more for Pat Osborne? You did ask, and I did let him know that right now down detection is going to be all or none for syslog specifically, but can you elaborate more on what that might look like in future updates for his sake?
yeah, I don't think that we've I think the decision was because we were looking at, I think, doing it for individual, but we decided, we have 0 now. Let's get something. So let's go to 0 to having something in place. And then we just don't have the right now, we just don't have the specificity to get to, each input or each index, which will change as we move to version 3. So that might be something that we revisit when we get to version 3, just because we'll have the flexibility. With version 2, with the way that things are, it's not as flexible to allow us to do that. So we just added the kind of the all or nothing approach, but you can specify the different time frame for all of. So if you want to specify 5 minutes or an hour, or what have you, with that is configurable, and then you can add multiple emails. But yeah, just right now we don't have it where you can change it per input.
No. Pat, while you're in here, could we also just kind of highlight, Ray just asked if this down detection is also going to work for Office 365. Can you kind of go over specifically what can be covered and what can't be covered?
Yeah, so for the down detection, it is just for the syslog area of the inputs. So 365 isn't included in the down detection feature that we're talking about here. But one of the things that that we added for 365 is it just looking back through our um release notes, it does have there's the ability to create alerts if there's any issues during the retrieval process. So we know that if we're not retrieving logs, it can inform us of that. It's not tied into down detection. In terms of having a universal down detection that's more flexible, that's going to be as we kind of get to version 3. What we've been doing basically the past few months is a parallel development of resources on version 3 and moving that forward. And then we want to keep, of course, releasing updates up and until version 3. So that's what just to enhance version 2 of NeQter. So yeah, so with down detection, no, but there is improved error handling when it comes to knowing if 365 is working or not, that we added in.
And if you need help with getting that set up, Ray, feel free to email myself for support. We can walk you through turning that on for 365. All right. I think maybe we give it a couple more minutes here, Pat, but we're almost at time anyways. Got a few
Yeah.
good questions in here at the end. We'll just see if we get one more in at the last minute.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's been, or I can't think of the last time that we've run wire to wire on a webinar, but there's just been so much. Um, there's just been so much to cover for this one. Um,
Yeah, just imagine how we might have to expand the one for version 3. This might not be long.
part one, part two. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We'll have a series, perhaps. Um,
Yeah, all right. I think we're good to wrap things up today, Pat. Thank you everyone for your time and joining us for another monthly webinar. We really appreciate you guys jumping in here with us and asking all the questions that you ask. Giving us people to talk to other than ourselves on these calls is really nice. Um, and we look forward to seeing you guys next month, and I look forward to seeing all of you on our quarterly reviews.
Thanks, everybody. Talk next month.